I liked it. I'm an official liker of the of you all, so you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. I didn't do anything. I clicked a button. Well, I'm going to teach you guys a new song. I think it might be new for you all. It's called God is Able. And some of you all may not have heard it. Some of you may have. But it's just a simple song about God's ability to take care of everything, right? I think we get overwhelmed and think sometimes you're in a situation that you're not sure how you're going to get out of it or how it's going to turn out. And you need to remind yourself that God's able to take care of it, period. It always works out that way. And His Word promises that to us, and He's always faithful. So, He says, don't fear, right? So that's what this song's about. Let's sing this together. God is with us. God is with us. God is on our side. He will make a way far above all we know, far above all we hope. He has done great things, lifted up. Raised to life, our God is able. In His name, He overcome. For the Lord, our God is able. God is with us. God is with us. He will go before. He will never leave us. He will never leave us. God is for us. He has open arms. He will never fail us. He will never fail us. Lifted up, defeated the grave. Raised to life, our God is able. In His name, we overcome. For the Lord, our God is able. Did defeated the grave. Raised to life, our God is able. We overcome. For the Lord
My foes are many, they rise against me, but I will hold my ground. I will not fear the war, I will not fear the storm. My help is on the way, my help is on the way. Oh my God, He will not delay, my refuge and strength always. I will not fear, His promise is true, my God will come through always, always. Trouble surrounds me, chaos abounding, my soul will rest in you. I will not fear the war, I will not fear the storm. My help is on the way, my help is on the way. And oh my God, He will not delay, my refuge and strength always. I will not fear, His promise is true, my God will come through always, always. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. Sing it out. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord, from you, Lord. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord, from you, Lord. And oh my God, He will not delay, my refuge and strength always. I will not fear, His promise is true, my God will come through always, always, always. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from you, Lord. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. Father God, we worship you. God, you are worthy of all our adoration, Father, and all our worship. God, let our voices and our minds be worship to you.
God, we didn't come here to leave the same, Lord. We came here to be different than when we showed up, Father. Lord, open our hearts and minds to your word, to your spirit, God, that you would move. Lord, we surrender this spirit. We surrender this place, Lord. We surrender this service to you. It's all yours, Father. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right, you guys can have a seat. You can pass someone on the shoulder next to you. Tell them it's good to see them again. Good to see you guys for a couple weeks. But tonight is our summer trip recap night. So raise your hand if you went on a trip this summer, whether it was summer camp, mission trip to Kenya or Atlanta. Raise your hand. So it's almost every single person in this room. And was it worth it? Overall, was it worth it? So we started the first part of summer off strong. Can you guys believe it's almost been 2 months since we went to summer camp? That's crazy. Almost 2 months ago. It's almost over. Don't cry. But God did amazing things at summer camp. Quite a few of you gave your life to Christ. And a couple weeks ago, I don't know how many of you were here for Baptism Sunday. Anybody here? But we got to baptize 5 of our students. So tonight we have a little gift for them that we didn't get to give them the day of. But Avery, would you come up here? Avery, give it up for Avery. And Evelyn's not here tonight. Lexi Fleet. Paige Robinson. And then Catherine is also not here tonight. But would you guys give it up for these students who made a decision to take the next step in their faith and accept Jesus, but also make a declaration in front of all of us and their church family saying, I'm going to follow Jesus. So we're so proud of them and excited for them. But then this past week, we had a mission trip going to Kenya. If you raise your hand, we went to Kenya. It was Connor, Abby, Emily, and Nikki. All were in Kenya. And there was a team of us in Atlanta. Raise your hand if you were in Atlanta. We had an awesome time. Raise your hand if you weren't on a trip. Okay, it's okay. You can admit it. You should come next year. But it was an amazing time. And so tonight what we're going to do, we're going to spend the rest of our time hearing from 2 people who went on those trips. So number 1, first up, would you give it up for Miss Emily L.? You have a seat right here. And then we have Deidre Alexander, who went to Atlanta. Would you give it up for Deidre? I know, right? They're matching. How's that even happen? Denim nights. All right, so how we want to start tonight, if you guys would just pray for us and pray for them. And I want you guys to have open hearts to hear, for those of you who went on the trips or weren't on trips, there were things that got taken away from those trips that apply back to here and hopefully are a challenge to each one of us tonight. So I want you guys to be attentive as they share. So would you pray with me? God, I thank you for tonight. I thank you for the opportunity to be in this place and to hear from these 2 awesome girls who have said, I'm willing to go and to leave my comfort zone and to serve you. So would you open our hearts to learn from them and their experience tonight? In your name, everybody say amen. So how I want to start, Emily, after you're done, you can pass it to Deidre. We'll just go like that. But the first question I want to ask is just give like a short overview of your trip and what you guys did on your trip.
Hi. So we traveled to Kisumu, Kenya, which was awesome. The travel there was kind of hard because we got delayed on our flight in Chicago. We sat on the plane for like 5 hours and didn't leave the airport. And we got stuck in England for a day, which was actually kind of cool, but it was stinky because we missed a day in Kenya. But throughout all of that, God had a plan for that. I'll get to that later. So the first day that we got there, we met Maurice and his team. I think most of you know who Maurice is. They've talked about him a lot in church. They're just the coolest people. And then the next day, we went to Manna Academy with all the little kiddos. And we got to spend the day with them, and that was super exciting. They just love seeing white people because they're never around them, and so they'll just touch you. They'll put their hands all over you and like play with your jewelry. They kept flicking my nose ring, and they play with your elbows and your fingers. And I had one little girl on my right hand the entire time. She just wouldn't let go. So it was really cool to to see that and to be loved on by them. Not only was I loving on them, but they were loving on me. It was really cool. And then the next day, we went to a women's prison. And that was crazy cool because we got to worship with them. And it's so humbling going into a prison. You know, you're surrounded by barbed wire and four walls, and it just feels, you feel like trapped in there. But you go in and you watch them worship, and they worship with such freedom. It's amazing, and it's kind of just like wrecked the place when we saw that. So that was really cool. We got to paint their fingers and their toenails because they all just want to be pretty girls. So we got to pamper them a little bit. And then we went, we had a widow's day where we visited Panina in her home, and she doesn't have use of her legs, and so she just sits on the floor all day and she makes rope. And we got to just sit in there with her and spend time with her. I learned how to make rope. That was really cool. And we prayed over her, and she prayed over us. And there was one of the lady, and her name is escaping me, Connor. Wilfreda. Thanks, Abby. And she was just awesome. And then the next day was a big widow's day. There were like 150 widows that came to the school, and we painted their nails and toenails, and we got to do like art projects with them, and we got to worship with them, and that was crazy. God's presence just totally filled that room. That was awesome to see. And I didn't know what they were singing because it was all in Swahili, or Lua is their local language. But it was just really cool seeing them worship. And then we went back to the school on Thursday, and we got to spend some more time with the kids. And then we traveled home. So it was amazing, I think. What was the question?
It was kind of give an overview of your trip.
Yep, okay.
Hi. Oh, hi. We went to Atlanta, Georgia, and we went to work with this organization called Church on the Street, located in South Downtown Atlanta. It was really cool because I think I speak for our whole team, we went in expecting that we were gonna like serve homeless people, like, you know, like we're gonna literally serve their food, or we're gonna like clean for them, like I don't know. I was expecting like literally like service like that. And when we got in the first day, the man over the organization, his name was Andy, he basically said, no, that's not what we're about. You're here as our guest. When you go to somebody's house, you don't come in and say, hey, I'm the host. That's reverse hospitality. And so we went in and we were the guests, and he was merely inviting us into his community. And so it was a really cool thing to see that it wasn't the run-of-the-mill type of mission trip. Like it was, we were the outsiders and we were coming into their world. And so the first day, we went to Renaissance Park, and we did a Bible study with the homeless people that were in that park. And it was led by a woman named Sylvia, and she's awesome, and she's like one of the leaders with that organization. And afterwards, we went on a hike, Arabia Mountain. And we got to like walk across that, and it was really cool. It wasn't like nature. It was like rock, and then like formed into like I don't know. It was just cool. Like some of the rock was marble. It was cool. And he like talked about basically the whole premise. I think the big message of the whole week was love God, love your neighbor. You can't do one without the other. And so the next day, and that was like kind of ingrained in my mind as the week went on. The next day, the woman and the men split. All the ladies, we went and we made jewelry at, I don't know what the church is called, but we made jewelry. And we were like making keychains and stuff. And through the week, if we wanted to give it away to somebody that we formed a relationship with, one of our people we formed some community with, we could. And so we made jewelry, and the men, I know they went and like talked and stuff with like the guys. Yeah. And afterwards we went on a walk basically through Atlanta, right? Basically through Atlanta. And sorry, it's a lot. We did a lot. We went on a walk through Atlanta. And afterwards, Andy basically talked about some really cool stuff I'll talk about later. But he talked about some really cool stuff. And then the same day, Sylvia had us go on a scavenger hunt where basically we had to live a day in the life of one of these homeless people. And we had to walk like different places to go get our meals, to go try to find shelter, to go pawn off our stuff so that we could have some money for the night. And it was very exhausting, and it was very eye-opening, that scavenger hunt. And we didn't even get to the places we were supposed to get in time. So the next day, we woke up, and we went to, what's the name of the park? I'm sorry, there's a lot. Central Park. And we went to Central Park, and we were with our community again, and we got to do this really cool art project where they held up a frame, and we did a squirt bottle painting of their faces, basically to see. We did it. There was a frame, sorry. There was a frame, sorry. And we did this squirt bottle painting of their faces, basically to see the face and not anything else. You're not seeing the color of somebody's skin, or you're not seeing how different they look. You're just seeing what you see, which is a beautiful face in front of you. After that, oh my gosh, after that, we went to South Atlanta. We went to this man named Dan. We went to Dan's house. Yeah, and he hosted us in his home, and he basically talked a little bit more about that message, loving God and loving your neighbor, and how it kind of goes hand in hand, and they elaborated a little bit more on that. The next day, we went, okay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The next day, we went back to Renaissance Park. We stayed there for a little bit, and then, no, not Block Party, right? That was, we walked around downtown. We were with Tamara that day, and we walked around, and that was Friday. What happened? Guys, I'm so sorry. Then what did we do Wednesday?
It's okay. Well, you're on track. You're on track.
Okay, basically, let's wrap up the week.
You don't have to have everything perfectly.
Oh, yeah. Basically, to wrap up the week, on the last day, we went and we walked through downtown near Renaissance Park, where it was really cool. You would walk on the street, and you would see a art gallery, and then you would turn the corner, and you would see homelessness and poverty. And we went and tried to reach out to some of those people there and have some conversations there. And then later that day, then we went and we visited the MLK Museum, and that was really cool. We got to see the place where he grew up, and we got to learn his background. And then we helped with a church, and we did a block party, and it was really fun. We painted kids' faces and ate with them and played games with them. And that was it.
Nailed it. Good for Deidre. That's a very detailed overview of our trip, so you did a great job. What I want to ask is, the first question is, is there something that surprised you, that when you got there, never having been there before, was there something that kind of surprised you about what you saw or what you experienced that you weren't expecting?
Yes, there was. The poverty is what stood out to me the most, because you always hear about it, and you always, or maybe you've seen pictures or you've heard your friends talk about it who've been on missions trips, but it's never been that real to me. And then it was just kind of thrown in my face when we got there, and I was like, whoa, this is real, this is serious, this is crazy. But I don't know, it's kind of indescribable. I don't know. You just never know that it's that bad over there. I mean, there's so much that they don't have that we never even think about not having. There's so much that they don't have that they never think about us having. Like it never crosses their minds. But it was cool because now I can take that back and I can learn not to take things for granted as much, which is cool. But another thing that surprised me was how friendly everyone was there. You just smile and wave at anyone that you see, and they're like, "Oh, Mzungus," which is what they call white people, because they're just so happy to see you. So yeah, that was really nice. And I guess never mind. That's for the next question.
That's so weird that she said that, because that surprised me as well, was the poverty in Atlanta. Growing up in Williamson County, you don't really see that. You don't see homeless people out on the street. You don't know an area where oh, that's where the homeless people are. It's just kind of on the outskirts. It's kind of hidden. But being in Atlanta, in the United States, and literally walking down a street where there's shopping and retail and a place to eat, and then literally turning the corner and seeing people, just a bunch of people living on the streets, it was eye-opening. It was mind-blowing to know that, wow, that's here. That's in the U.S. And you wouldn't think you would see something that vivid and that, I don't know, you wouldn't see that many. I was even expecting to see I don't know, maybe 10 homeless people. No, there was 40 upon 50, upon maybe more in different areas. And it was very surreal, because when I wake up in the morning and I go on a drive around Franklin, Tennessee, you don't see that driving through the streets. You don't ever see that. You see people in their cars, and you see people walking on the street for fun. No, these people are sleeping on the streets, and that's all they had. And it was very surprising. It was very eye-opening.
Kind of along the same lines, but what's something that you learned that really stood out to you that's going to impact your life?
Well, one of the biggest things that I took away from that trip was that God reaches every corner of the earth. It's really easy to think here we are in America, and this is where God is at, because this is what we've known. But I don't know. It was really cool to go to somewhere so far away and see God's presence there, almost even more than I've seen it here. So it's awesome and mind-blowing knowing that there is no place too far for God to reach. So that was something I learned. And also just all the stuff that we have here that we don't need. I don't know. I feel it's really cliche to say, but don't take things for granted, because we have so much that we don't need. They have nothing, but they're so genuinely happy. Because they have nothing, all they have is God, and that's why they're so filled with joy. They don't need cars or iPhones. They have what they have. They always say it is very simple, and it's a simple life, and it's great to learn from that and bring that back here. And just seeing everything that I have that I don't need, I don't know. It has changed the way that I go about my day-to-day stuff. So, yeah.
Something I learned was kind of, I guess, maybe odd, but just how prevalent and how here, I guess, the cultural and divides amongst people. When Andy was talking to us about some stuff, he was kind of talking about this could be the wrong word, but the socio-economical divides amongst the town of Atlanta. And if you could, like, it was crazy because he went back to the history of, like, slavery and how there was a divide there and how the divide continued, and you wouldn't even realize it. Especially now, right now, especially, like, with the whole Black Lives Matter, all that stuff happening. We talked to Dan and a woman named Michelle and a guy named Malcolm on our trip. And I was very invested in what Michelle had to say. The conversation kind of went in different directions, but basically she was just telling us stories about all the different things that she never realized happened, like, to Black people. She married a Black man, and she wanted a Black husband, and even, like, her father had a issue with that, a problem with that. He did not want her marrying him. And things to going about her talking about her daughter and how, like, she would go out into, like, a grocery store and just random strangers would come up and say, "Oh, is she yours?" And, like, how, I guess how in society people don't realize the insensitivity of those things, you know? Growing up in Williamson County, growing up in Franklin, I've been born and raised here my entire life. My parents, who are both Black, all my family, they would talk about their growing up as far as, like, how they grew up, like the houses they lived in, their family routines, the things they had, and how minimal they were, but they would not talk about the racism that was very alive and well in that time. And I think they didn't tell me it for protection-wise. My parents always envisioned a life where I wouldn't have to go through that. And I remember Rhonda, she's not here, but she basically asked me while we were taking a walk, so have you, like, what do you think about this? Have you ever faced anything like this? And when I was going back in my mind, I said, no, I've never faced anything like this. And so my parents did an amazing job of having me grow up in a community where something so blatant and direct and hurtful never actually got to be, I never got to be face to face to it. But did my father face it and my mother face it and even my older brother face it? Yeah, they did. And so going to Atlanta and hearing and seeing all the divides amongst people, all the hurt and all the lovelessness that just isn't there amongst different people just because maybe the color of their skin, it never quite hit me that that was a thing because I grew up without that being a thing to me. And so it was very, very eye-opening, very shocking, and very heartbreaking, which is a good thing because we kind of did pray for heartbreak, and my heart was broken. And so that was one big thing I learned about.
That's awesome. And then the hardest thing about any trip, you go on a trip, you're immersed in a culture or people, is then coming back to your normal life. When we talk about this at summer camp too, you have the spiritual high, you come back home, and you get back to normal life, and it's like, wow, that was amazing, but here's my normal life. So the challenge for you guys, anybody who went on a mission trip the past week, is to say, how do we continue what we learned on this trip? So how do you apply, what is something or a way that you apply what you've learned to your life now, being back here?
Well, I sort of already answered this, and I didn't mean to, so I'll just say it again. Not taking things for granted, and enjoying the moments of every day, because there they say it is very simple, and they don't rush ever. They just take things very easy, and like during worship services, they don't have like time slots for each thing. We're going to worship for 30 minutes, and we're going to have a service, and then we're going to have an altar call. Like, they just worship for however long they feel like they should worship. And it's kind of nice, kind of relaxing. And they just kind of feel things out, and they don't rush. It's a simple life. And that is something that I think we as Americans are definitely missing, is we rush through a lot of our days, and we don't take time to appreciate the smaller things and the simple things. And So that's something that I will definitely be trying to work on. Yeah. And then also serving, just being there and being able to serve. And then coming back here, I'm seeing ways that I can serve, like the Atlanta trip here in America, that I can serve so easily. I don't have to travel for 4 days to get to a place where I can serve. I can serve every day in smaller things, but it still matters. It's still to glorify the kingdom. So, yeah, that's cool.
Well, one verse that Sylvia said, okay, let's see. It's Micah 6:8. So for those who know, you know I might get it wrong, but it's like act justicely, justice, love, love well, like love, I don't know, love mercifully, and walk humbly. I actually didn't really understand the meaning of that verse until about the end of the week, like the genuine words in that verse. And it's my mission to do that for as long as I'm here on earth. Going home, it's like we're back here in this great bubble we call Williamson County with the rich school systems and the rich people around us where there's no problems. And so you think, well, what can I do at home after seeing all this poverty and homelessness and stuff? But Andy specified to us, it's not about, like, you don't have to go out and, like, love on homeless people. You have to love your neighbor. And behind closed doors, your neighbor could be going through anything. And what you can do is love on them. And so I'm just trying to start with small steps. I'm trying to, I lived in the same house for the past 18 years of my life, and I think I know one of my neighbors on my entire road. And so I'm starting small with like trying to love and meet all my neighbors and form some community with them. A neighbor up my road just lost his daughter, and like I think I visited him once because my family like made me, and I'm like, wow, like doesn't that guy need some love right now? And so just trying to start with my own neighborhood and form some community and show that I'm here for as long as they need me, and I'm here to love. And as far as like more so, forming some community that maybe isn't in my neighborhood. Like I know the day I got back, I asked my mom, I said, hey mom, I'm not sure where these areas are as far as like, I know there's not like a ton of homelessness in Franklin. Like it's a rich place. And so I'm like, take me to where this stuff is, because I have never seen it. And she did take me to some back places, some roads on the side. I don't really know the names of them, but I'm going to ask her to take me there again one day and again until I feel like, okay, today's the day. I'm already praying over it. Today's the day. I'm just gonna get out the car and go introduce myself to somebody in that community, because I'm just gonna try to plant a seed. And as far as like learning about all this stuff with, like my culture, with like racism, with like, the ethnicity, my skin, all that stuff, I don't feel, my heart is broken, but I don't feel like I want to go on Facebook and be like, Black Lives Matter, yada, yada, yada. Like, I'm not there for that. I think I can love others well and maybe can help them understand the whole premise of the whole thing, how it's just not like it's not what people on the internet are saying it is. It's a little bit more. And you can do that through forming community, through loving your neighbor. So I'm very driven, and I'm very focused on doing that. And not only in my neighborhood, but also here. Hi guys, I know I introduced myself to some of you tonight, and I know I haven't met you before, and I'm so sorry because of that, because I want to know every single one of your names by the time I go to college. I know I met Avi today, and she's really awesome. And so I want to form a community wherever I go. And so that's what I learned.
That's awesome. Would you guys give it up for Emily and Deidre? Real quick. For somebody next year, when we come back to trips again, and someone says, I can't go on a trip for any reason, would you have anything you would say to them to encourage them?
Yes.
I didn't give you this question.
No. Well, if it's a financial reason, I would say talk to one of the leaders because they will work with you. Like, they so desperately want you to go to experience everything that you can experience. So talk to them, and they'll figure that out. And God always provides in every aspect. So if you're worried about the money, because we're all poor kids, God will provide in a way that you never knew that he would. Expect big things. Expect your mind to be blown. Go in with an open heart. Go in ready to receive whatever God has for you. I love that everyone prayed for their hearts to be broken before we went on these trips. That's awesome to me that everybody really just desired for God to break their hearts for what breaks his. That's awesome because, it kind of stinks getting your heart broken, but when it's out of love like that, when it's out of a love like God's love, that's just the best kind of heartbreak you can ever have. So I love that. So absolutely ask for, before you go on any trip to serve God, make sure that it's covered in prayer. Ask everyone and make sure that you're doing your part in praying for it. Because if you're just going with your own power, then you might as well not even go, because it's only when God is walking with you every day when you're on that trip that big things are going to happen and that you're going to move mountains. So.
Same thing. If it's money-wise, definitely talk to the leaders. They're more than happy to help you, and they're amazing. They want you to go, and they want you to experience this big world we live in outside of Williamson County. If you are fearful of going on a mission trip, I think you should pray about it, and I think that is also a good thing. It's good to be fearful of something unknown because you've never seen it before, and that's something where God can open your eyes to something little, something huge, something shocking, something heartbreaking, something that he could have had you specifically on that trip to seed something for the rest of your life. And so if you're fearful, pray about it, be thinking about it. They are truly once-in-a-lifetime experiences. They are amazing. They are eye-opening, and they are, I think, absolutely worth it.
Awesome. So I love what we learned on our Atlanta trip, what they pointed out time and time again, is we're not here to change the people that we're coming in contact with. We were with Americans, but us Williamson County rich people weren't going to go into downtown Atlanta and in 4 days change their lives and walk away like we fixed homelessness. That wasn't our job. That's not our goal. But mission trips, more than anything, they open your heart and your mind to see God and his world in such a different way. And it's amazing when you go and then you sit down with a homeless person. I remember Lexi saying, I sat down with this guy and I think I learned more from him than I could ever have taught him in 10 minutes. The wisdom, and you realize, okay, these are people too. You're across the world, but Kenyans are just people with their own heartbreak, their own struggles, their own ways of communication, and they're just like us. But we get in our little bubble of Williamson County, we miss out on knowing God's world and what he's doing in the world, and then it changes the way you view your own community, your own people, and our own world that we all live in every single day. And so now, with the information that people have gone on a trip with, we're going to school. We're going back to school. All of you legally have to go to school, even if you're homeschooled. I don't know if that really counts, but you have to do school. But a lot of you are going to school. And we're going to talk more about that in the coming weeks, but how do you live out what you guys have learned? How do you live on mission even where you're at? But I'm going to challenge each one of you next year. We're going to have hopefully more mission trip opportunities and summer camp to go on something. Because when you step out of your comfort zone, you step into something unknown, that's when God does his best work in you and in your heart. And so I hope that you think about that, pray about that as we come around to it next year. But guys, we have a week and a half. You guys go back on Friday, next Friday, school for a half day. Man, it's crazy. Some of you are getting your last minute vacations out of the way. But I'm going to challenge you guys, okay, very specifically. You have a week and a half. I'm going to challenge you every single day to pray. Just to pray for yourself, pray for your heart, pray for your school, that God would prepare you as you go back to school. I know you have so much to do, back to school shopping. You have to I don't know what you do I've never gone to school, so I don't really know what you have to do, but I know you got to do a lot of stuff. And so as you prepare, I don't want you just to rush through it, but be preparing your heart for what God wants to do in you and through you in this next year. So my challenge is you have, 10 days. Be praying every day that God would work in your heart, move through you, in your school, however you feel led to pray. But go into this school year intentional and see what God can do. Would you guys pray with me before we go tonight? Dear God, thank you so much for just bringing us together. That God, we do have this community here in Williamson County at Gateway Franklin Church, that we have people that we can come together with and worship you and know. Lord, I pray that we would intentionally get into each other's lives, that we would know the hurts and the struggles and the joys of each other's lives, that we wouldn't just show up and know that we went to the pool today, but we would go deeper than that and know each other in a way that we can encourage one another and love with one another and walk with one another through life. Lord, I pray for each one of these students, God, as they prepare to go back to school. Lord, I pray that you be working in their hearts and their minds and giving them strength. And how do they go back into their world and their schools and be used by you to do amazing things? Lord, I pray this school year would not just be another year of getting done with school and getting over it, but God, they would intentionally go into their schools to love people for you. And it's your name that we pray. Everybody say, amen. You guys give it up for Deidre and Emily one more time. Yes. Miss Nikki would like to say something.
Okay, I'm not going to keep you all long, but as they were talking, I really felt especially some of the things Deidre was saying, I wanted to let y'all know about an opportunity that's going to be coming up soon. Daniel and I have purchased a building in Franklin that is actually currently in the Black community, right behind if anyone knows the big library on Main Street. It's back behind there, and it's on Natchez Street, and it's currently a community center. And we're going to continue to run it as a community center. And so Gateway is going to be involved, and there's also a church called Franklin Community Church that's going to be involved doing stuff there. So soon we're going to have lots of opportunities for y'all to serve and when I say serve, what I mean is love on that community, make relationships. Again, like Craig said, we're not going to go in and solve some issue in this community. They're just people that we get to love on and have new friends and have a new place just to spread God's love. So I just wanted to let y'all know that it's coming, that it's out there, that we're going to have new opportunities even outside of our Williamson County bubble, just a little bit more of an opportunity. So anyway, I was excited, so I wanted to share.
Oh, that's awesome. That is super exciting. And so I want you guys to be on the lookout and to think bigger about this year, that we're not just going to gather on Wednesday nights or Sundays, but we want to go out and love people and love the community. So we have an awesome opportunity through Daniel and Nikki and Muveo to go and love that community. So be excited about that, and we'll have more details to come. But we love you guys. Have a great week. Have fun at the beach. If you're going to the beach, have fun watching Netflix. If you're watching Netflix, be fun. Whatever you do, have fun. We love you guys. Have a good night. Deuces.